I forced my 2 toddler sons into the oven and left them in there to cook while I went to work. My name is Lamora Williams, and this is my story. I lived in Atlanta, Georgia with my 2 toddlers and my baby daddy. My sons were aged 1 and 2, and I loved nothing more than being their mother. Getting to teach them and watch them grow up truly fulfilled me, unlike anything else. On October 13th of 2017, I had to go to work and wanted to make sure my kids were safe at home, so I turned on the oven and placed my 2 sons inside so they wouldn't be roaming around the house. I left for work, but when I got home to my surprise, they were both laying on the kitchen floor lifeless. They had burns all over their body, and I called 911. I told the operator that I didn't want to get locked up because this wasn't my fault. I even told police that a caregiver must have done this to my kids, but they didn't buy that story as there was zero evidence for that. Police also found out that before I called police, I faceted my boyfriend and showed him the dead bodies on the floor. My trial has just started and I'm waiting a verdict, but I think I will be found not guilty. Follow for more stories.
This mom is adjusting to her new normal after losing her hands and legs because of all things a dog lick. Marie Trainer woke up from a 10-day coma to find her limbs had been amputated.
I cried. I cried the hardest I ever cried in my life.
The life-changing tragedy had its origins during a vacation in the Caribbean with her husband. Marie says she was using her key card to access her hotel when she accidentally nicked herself on her wrist. It was a tiny little scratch, a silly accident. It hardly hurt. When Marie came home, her dog Taylor greeted her with lots of kisses. But the dog also licked Marie's scratch. 4 days later, Marie got very sick and was rushed to the hospital with a severe infection and septic shock.
Her arms were turning black all the way up just below her shoulders.
It turns out that her dog's saliva carried a bacteria called Capnocytophaga. It's quite common in dogs, but what happened to Marie is a very rare occurrence.
It is a 1 in over a million. I mean, the chance is so rare. You would never think that a dog lick would cause someone to lose their hands and legs.
Orthopedic surgeon Dr. A.J. Seth at Altman Hospital in Canton, Ohio, says the choice was stark. Amputate or Marie would die.
I kind of wish that they would have let me go. Because I can't live like this. What am I going to do? How am I going to do everything? I can't do nothing for myself right now.
Her husband Matthew is doing his best to lift her spirits.
I love her to death. She's everything to me.
He never leaves her side, helping her with everything from brushing her teeth to styling her hair, which isn't easy because Marie is a beautician.
He's not a hairdresser.
Dr. Seth is working on building custom prosthetics for Marie so she can try to regain some independence.
Fit good?
It's perfect.
She's staying positive with the help of her son and daughter.
How you feeling?
Good.
She's an inspiration. She's so strong.
You're probably wondering what happened to the dog.
Hi, how are you?
Well, despite losing her limbs to a dog lick, Marie says she'll never stop loving her German Shepherd, Taylor.
So whatever happened to Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment at the Oxford Apartments? If you don't remember, this is where Jeffrey Dahmer was eventually caught, and this is where they found all of the gruesome discoveries associated with Jeffrey Dahmer. It's absolutely eerie to look at photos of his apartment and consider what they found in there. But what happened to the building, the Oxford Apartments building? Well, obviously after investigators discovered what they did in Jeffrey's apartment, the place was stained forever. And so shortly after all this happened, the apartments, the entire complex, they were demolished. And nowadays, all that's left is this patch of grass where the apartments once stood. It's gotta be eerie living in one of these units and knowing exactly what happened right here. I actually went and filmed a whole Jeffrey Dahmer documentary where we visited the old Oxford Apartments area and investigated for paranormal activity. Let me tell you, that place is loaded with energy. At one point, using our devices, we captured what looked like bodies laying on the ground, like 3 or 4 of them. And I think at one point, using one of our devices, we literally heard the voice of Jeffrey Dahmer coming through. I'm not kidding, I know that sounds really extreme, but you have to listen to the video and just see what I'm talking about. Anyways, it's called The Ghost of Jeffrey Dahmer if you want to look it up and learn more about the Jeffrey Dahmer story. And my wife and I actually did a whole Dahmer series on our podcast, Murder in America, if you want to listen to what I'm talking about.
I had to reach down deep in my soul. I just had a new sense of wanting to survive. I would do whatever it took.
She asks to go to the bathroom. He refuses. She insists, claiming she would pee right there in the bed if he denies her to go. He allows her to go in, where she could be alone for a moment. Her plan has worked.
I was putting my fingerprints everywhere. The vanity mirror, on the walls, to show the police I was fighting, trying to leave my marks to say, hey, listen, I was here. I was one of his victims.
She knows that to survive, she would need to gain his trust, so she begins a dangerous mind game.
There was a moment we had a conversation. I had asked him, why was he doing this to me? He said, due to a recent breakup, he was getting back at women in general. And I played at his heartstrings. I said, listen, I can be your girlfriend. We don't have to tell anybody how we met. You seem like a pretty nice guy. I had to show he had control and that I respected him, no matter what. One slip, and I would have been dead. And that's when he said, no, I can't keep you. He told me to get some rest, get some sleep. It'd be over in a little while.
Around 3:30 a.m., the man takes Lisa out into the car. He drives her off blindfolded again. She starts to see her end is near.
As he's putting the blindfold on me, I was trying to tighten my jaw so it would be a little loose. Everything that I saw, hear, touch, smell, taste, whatever, I would just store it in my memory bank. In case if I did get out of this alive, I can go to the place to get him caught. I remember the car being loud, like it needed a tune-up. I remember the lights passing on the interstate. I could see it beneath my blindfold. I'm trying to see my surroundings, I'm trying to see where I'm at. I knew we were in interstate because the air sound changes, it gets strong. I saw two hotels. These two hotels were at the intersection of Hillsborough Avenue, he proceeds west. Interstate 275. I remember seeing a silver piercing, shining light hitting my eyes. It was the word Magnum on the dashboard. He decides to pull into a rear parking lot. Tell me to get out of the car. That Grace's gonna kill me here. He told me when I got out, I went to stand there for 5 minutes. I was frozen. My mind's racing. Should I run? Should I walk? Is he watching me? Is he pointing the gun at me right now? Is he gonna run me over by his car?
But he didn't. The man left her there and drove off. After minutes that seemed like an eternity, Lisa finally decides to risk taking off her blindfold.
I took my blindfold off, and the first thing I saw was this beautiful oak tree. I fell to my knees and I started crying. I knew right there and then my life was going to change forever. To me, it was a sign of a new branch of life. Now wanting to live my life.
But her struggle is not over yet. When she gets to the police station, she tells a detective everything that happened to her. But because Lisa has such composure, she doesn't look like other victims. And so the detective doesn't believe her. Lisa gets angrier and angrier.
This footage hides a disturbing secret. The couple cheering in the stands is Celeste and Stephen Beard. They are attending the high school graduation of their twin daughters, Jennifer and Christina. Now, look closely at the woman sitting alone in front of them. Her name is Tracy Tarleton. From the outside, she looks supportive of the twins, clapping as they walk across the stage. But what the girls don't know is that just a few months before this footage was taken, Tracy was released from a psychiatric facility and has been meeting with their mother in secret, plotting a violent crime that will force the two teenagers to run for their lives.
She's very scary. There wasn't enough locks on the door for the two of us to feel safe.
We were scared to death. We thought she'd kill the girls.
You better get your home tonight. You understand that? Because if you don't, you will be sorry.
It's 1993. 13-year-old Christina lives with her mom, Celeste, and her stepdad, Stephen, in Austin, Texas, while Jennifer, Christina's identical twin sister, lives with their biological father, Craig, in Washington State. The twins' parents went through a lengthy custody battle after their divorce, which ended in the twins being separated between both parents. Living hundreds of miles away from each other was difficult for the girls because they were each other's best friends.
I missed her a lot. I missed Jen a whole lot. We were built-in friends with each other.
I would not know how to be a regular sibling. You know, it's always been nice to have someone that knows exactly what I'm going through. It was definitely hard not to have my other half.
It's July 1996. After 3 years of living apart, the twins have finally planned a summer trip together, reuniting at their grandparents' house in California. They're really excited because it's the first time they have seen each other in over 2 years.
My sister and I never skipped a beat.
Laughing so hard that we were crying, and I just couldn't believe that we were actually back together again.
However, things take a turn for the worse when Jennifer tries to call their father, Craig, to let him know they've arrived safely. But no one is picking up the phone. They keep trying to call, but still, no answer. After 2 days of not talking, the twins received the news that their father has been found dead in his home, leaving behind a handwritten letter. He had been quietly struggling for years, leaving his daughters asking themselves why he would do this.
I felt like I died that day.
The twins are in a state of shock. What was supposed to be only a 2-week reunion turned into Jennifer suddenly moving in with Christina, Celeste, and their new stepdad, Stephen Beard, in Austin, Texas. At first, she had a hard time adjusting to the change, but when she met Steve Beard, her new stepdad, he was surprisingly very welcoming and loving, showing a lot of attention to his new stepdaughter.
When I first met Steve, he was just so sweet, which was a relief, you know, because he was technically my stepdad. On Sundays, it was really special because Steve and I would always go to breakfast together. I was very grateful to have his relationship.
After years of living together, the new blended family, from the outside, appears to be living a happy life. The sisters have just started their senior year of high school, and they for once have a stable father figure. Stephen even formally adopted the twins, giving them each a special family ring.
He had always worn his.
He just gave it to us after he adopted us, and we thought it was the coolest thing.
I mean, I was definitely moved that he had this special ring made, and I mean, just the adoption alone, you know, I felt pretty connected to him.
But everything changes on October 2nd, 1999, at 2:30 a.m. Jennifer is staying with her boyfriend, while back at Stephen's house, Christina is asleep like any other night, when all of a sudden, Christina's bedroom door swings open.
Pepperlaki, a name that's whispered in the parks and playgrounds of Merseyside. A threat made to kids. A name I've known all my life. Watch out, or Pepperlaki will get you. A bogeyman that nobody was really sure even existed. When I was at school here, we'd all joke about him. We'd wonder if he was real. We'd make threats, saying he was going to come and get you. And we'd laugh, but we'd be a little bit scared. Everyone thinks they've spotted him and felt a shiver. But why is everyone so scared of him?
I'd always been interested in, from tiny age, being strong, being bigger. I used to like the Hulk, I used to watch Popeye. My dad used to get me spinach in a tin. As soon as I turned 12, they let me get a weight set. Nah, that's it now. I was 15 at the time, and I was walking across the road, and this big black fella banged into me. And he said, I know you, don't I? I said, I don't think so. And he said, I do. What gym do you train at? So I told him, and he said, well, I train there, that's where I know you from. He was like, well, let me just show you these murderers on trial in the law courts. I was like, I don't want to see any murderers on trial. Straight away, he turned on me and said, you're being racist, you don't want to come with me because I'm black. And I was like, shocked. I was like, my dad's from Egypt, I'm not racist. Anyway, we went in the law courts, and this is where it gets a bit weird. Went into a little tiny room. So he said, take your top off. But I want to see your muscles. So I was like, I don't want to take my top off. He's like, why? What's wrong with it? You do bodybuilding. I'm into bodybuilding. I just want to see your muscles, that's it. He was stood in front of the door. I had nowhere to go. In the end, I took my top off. And he's got me doing all these bodybuilding poses. He's looking at me. He's like, right, I want to see how strong you are. Get me in a fireman's lift and squat me. So I was like, no chance. He's like, why not? He started getting a bit aggressive. Anyway, I just ended up doing it.
So he's on your back?
He's on here like this. Fucking massive 6'5" he is. He was sweating loads, and I remember thinking, why are you sweating? After I put him down, he wasn't in front of the door, so I just opened the door and legged it. Ran all the way to the train station, train back to Formby. 2-3 weeks after this has happened, I was on my bike, riding home about 11 at night. Next thing, he jumps out, grabs me. He's like, I've brought me tape measure to measure your muscles. He tried to put it around my leg, and that's when I pushed him and ran, banging on the door. Mum, Dad, that big black fella's here. My dad and his mate run out looking for him. He's gone. We got the police. The police were like, is this him? I was like, yeah.
They had a picture of him.
A picture of him, Akinwale Arabiki. You might have heard of him, Purple Aki.
No one knows much about Purple Aki. All they know is his name, Akinwale Arobieki. In court, he said his nickname's racist. He's being questioned by the police about
link in bio.
You might have heard of him, Purple Aki.
No one knows much about Purple Aki. All they know is his name, Akinwale Arobieki. In court, he said his nickname's racist. He's being questioned by the police about muscle touching nearly 70 times.
Gary was a big lad, he was 6 foot, and he was absolutely adored football and was constantly playing football. So he was quite well built and had big legs, and I think that's what Purple Aki liked, was his legs.
What did you know about Purple Aki?
To be honest with you, I didn't know nothing about him. I'd never heard of him until he started harassing Gary. He was like a bloody ghost, because you're at the bus stop and there's no one there. And the next minute, he's there in the bus stop right next to you, and you're like, where did he just come from? Because you didn't see him coming, it was like he just appeared. Gary was absolutely terrified of him. Yeah, really scared, really, really scared. Yeah. But you would be, wouldn't you? He'd be standing in the entry at the side of his house, so you wouldn't know that he was there, and as Gary would leave my house and walk over, he'd just step out the entry. And then Gary would go down the entry with him, and that's where he used to make Gary do the squats and stuff. Gary said that he would get excited by that. So that's why Gary went to the police in the end and got a harassment order. And the order was Purple Aki wasn't supposed to come over to Birkenhead. He was supposed to stay on, he wasn't allowed over the Mersey. He was supposed to stay on the Liverpool side, and he didn't. We got up on the Sunday morning, it was a really lovely day. Gary had made plans to go to New Brighton Bath with all his friends. I come home and I was in the bath, and then the next minute I heard his mum screaming. Something to do with Purple Aki following him or chasing him. When he came out of the swimming bath, Purple Aki was at the entrance. Gary spotted him. He spotted Gary. Gary panicked, because obviously he's been and snitched on him and he's got the police involved, and so Gary must have panicked and ran to get the hell out of there and get home. And I think he tried to mingle in the crowd. Purple Aki followed him to the train station, and then he's just gone into panic mode and thought, I've got to get away, and his only escape would have been to cross the lines and escape over the fences. He got caught on the lines and got electrocuted.
Aki was convicted of manslaughter. but it was overturned because there was no evidence that he'd actually threatened or even touched Gary. Aki's defense was he was the victim of racism. He was just on the platform, looking at trains. It's almost as if fear had killed Gary Kelly.
Everywhere you went, there was like writing all over, like train stations and walls, R.I.P. Gary Kelly, always remember Gary Kelly. And obviously I think loads of slanderous stuff about Purple Aki.
I mean, growing up, I've heard so many people pretend that they've seen him. You know, there's always a kid in school who's...
Do you think they pretend that they've seen him, or do you think they've actually seen him?
I just didn't even know he existed at first, so...
I can't believe that you didn't think he existed.
I don't think many people did.
No.
I wondered if Aki was a bit of a victim in all this. A big black man in a white city with an odd obsession with muscles. The fear came from the unknown.
Link in bio.
A big black man in a white city with an odd obsession with muscles. The fear came from the unknown. But then I met Kelly Mullaney. She's moved to the other end of the country, and even now, she doesn't feel safe.
When I was about 13, 14, going to the local park, you had to pass the forest, and they always said Purple Aki lives down there. Growing up, it was a myth. I didn't believe him. I just used to think Purple Aki doesn't exist.
When did the myth become a reality?
As I got a bit older. When we were outside the shop, we were drinking cider. It was like Mad Dog 2020, something like that. And then we were just all hanging about, and he just turned up in this silver Granada. Everybody's just like, oh my God, it's Purple Aki. He's just purple and huge. There's just no one else like him. One day I was going home, and Aki was trying to touch my brother and feel my brother's arms. So I said to him, I'm gonna phone the police if you don't leave my brother alone. Get away from the boys and move. When I got home, it was about half an hour later, I was bang, bang, bang on the door. So I looked out the window and he was like, come down here. I was like, I'm not coming down. He came round with a gun, put it through my letterbox and said, you're fucking dead, you're dead, you're dead. They were the exact words. You're fucking dead, you're dead, you're dead. I phoned the police. There was like 6 or 7 police cars there within a minute, and yeah, he got charged with threats to kill against me.
Aki was sentenced to 2.5 years, but there was no evidence of any gun. When he got out, an extraordinary sexual offences order was made, banning him from touching, feeling or measuring muscles, loitering near schools, gyms or sports clubs, going into Widnes, Warrington or St. Helens. What's it like being someone who sent down Purple Aki?
To be honest, when I'd done it, I was like, why the hell have I just done that? You know, this is going to make my life hell sort of thing. And I ended up moving down here, which has changed my life completely.
So you had to move away?
Yeah. Just to be on that safe side. And that's like 16 years later, you know?
Since then, Aki's gone from terrifying bogeyman to a bit of a joke. I tracked him down to an address in Liverpool and got a number for his solicitor. So I got a letter back from Aki saying, could you please stop calling round to my home? You have my solicitor's name and number. It's odd to have heard back from a man who, at the start, I wasn't even really sure existed. And now I have something physical and real. This is a man who is known for harassing people, and he sent us a letter saying to basically stop harassing him. It's a bit surreal.
A few months ago, Aki got the sexual offences order overturned. The judge agreed muscle touching wasn't a sex crime. Aki said he was reforming. He may no longer inspire fear, but he still haunts people.
I didn't tell anyone I was pregnant until after his dad's funeral, which was 6 weeks. The timing just didn't seem right to be telling people that I'm carrying his baby, and so, Ben, this is Jamie Lee. Jamie Lee's my daughter.
Okay.
Sorry for invading your house.
It's okay.
For a lot of people, it's a joke. He is a boogeyman. He's like, my boyfriend says, people walk through town and if they see him, they'll take selfies. And
crazy.
But not a lot of people are aware of what happened to my dad. It's a sickening dip in my stomach because that actually happens.
I've known Purple Aki since I was 13 years old. He became notorious because he chased a group of kids onto a railway line trying to abuse them, and one got hit by a train and died. That's why he's known. This is a true account. This is a true account. Well, I said I met him through Tommy. I could go to my mum's house and he'd be sat in the fucking kitchen of my ma's, Achen would. And I go, what the fuck are you doing? Your mum invited me and she gave me some chocolate biscuits and tea. Is that fucking right, Achen? Get your shit and get the fuck out. You're on it. But whilst he was coming to my ma's, he was getting familiar with a few of my mates. Adrian Garvey, Daniel Garvey. These are little kids and they're all on a gear and that now. Anyway, we go to the Magistrates Court for one of my older mates. It was Danny Garvey actually. We're going into the court and he's got a court for something mad. I'm looking round, I'm looking, where is he? Where's Danny? So I'm thinking, where the fuck's he? So we walked out, opened this door, walked towards courtroom 5 or something, and I'm thinking, what the fuck's going on here? And then I hear it again, I'm thinking, wow, what's going on? So get down a bit further, look round, there's Daniel Garvey in the squat position with Achen Arabiki sitting on his shoulders. I'm not bullshitting you, mate. Trying to lift him up. Trying to squat with Achen on his fucking shoulders. But what he was doing is, and this is the noncy part of why he does that, every time Danny's there trying to go and stand up, Achen's cock's on his neck.
Link bio.
Oh no. No, 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 silly, to dry it. But it exploded, and they were both found dead.